up, Raider Nation? Your buddy Murph back once again for another Raiders fan radio conversation. Welcome back into the fan cave. A man who is a trainer of many of Hollywood's elite and a very accomplished actor himself. And after being selected 16th overall in the 1984 draft, had a long career in the NFL, closing it out with the then Los Angeles Raiders. We are thankful to have him back in the fan cave once again to tell us all about training camp, talk about alumni weekend, all kinds of good stuff and what he's got going on. So welcome back to the fan cave, Pete Koch.
Hey, Murph. Good to be with you. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. Good to talk to you again, man. I want to ask you first and foremost, my co-host, Uncle Mosh, he calls me the other day and he goes, I was on the road. I was at this conference in Washington, D.C. He goes, I couldn't sleep. I got up in the middle of the night. I turned on the TV and Pete Koch was on there on an iPhone commercial. And your commercial tell us about that. It's like the #1 commercial in the country or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. It's my pleasure. I went, as an actor, I'm just out there for opportunities. And my agent said, hey, we got this incredible opportunity for you. They're looking for somebody in this iPhone. It's a special commercial for them. And, I went through the normal casting process and I was thrilled to be picked. Listen, I'm not doing much in the commercial, but I'm doing just what they asked me to do, and it's promoting the face recognition that opens up the phone. This is the most advanced feature in the iPhone, and you know what? So the commercial dropped about a month ago, and it just runs all the time, and it's been a really fun experience for me, and all the people at Apple and iPhone were just amazing.
Oh, that is so cool. So. What else you got going on? You got any other projects that you're working on that you could tell us about?
I got a couple things I'm working on, and I cannot tell you really any detail because it's so early on, but I've partnered with quite a brilliant writer, producer, and he's got a concept and an idea to 33 years later to bring the Swede character back to life.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's we've laid out a couple of options. This is something that might appeal to an audience as a feature film, or we're toying with the idea would the best way to kind of go about this would be a TV series. And there's so many options. There's everything from network TV to streaming, and we just kind of believe, and we're optimistic and hopeful that we can find the right production partner, that there's an audience out there that remembers that character in Swede from Heartbreak Ridge or has a connection or an admiration for Clint Eastwood. And we know there's tens of millions of people worldwide that recognize Clint, and then an awful large number of people that identify with the Swede character. And between current and prior military people that are the good men and women that are serving and protecting the citizens of this great country, that whether they're active or prior, it's a huge percentage of the population. If I might be as far as I could research this, it might be 1 in 11 people in the United States citizens or active or prior military. And nearly all those people know who Swede is. And I don't know, we just think that there's an audience there, and some really fun storytelling is the potential.
Wow, that is really cool. With having, like you said, the streaming services and like what we've seen they've done, like with the Karate Kid franchise, where they brought back those characters and have this new Cobra Kai television show that's just taken off and been insanely popular. Like that would be a really cool thing to have a Swede series like that, like an 8 episode, 10 episode run or something like that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's where we're angling, Murph. You really hit the nail on the head. And Cobra Kai, which is, if people hadn't seen it, and I've seen both seasons, and I'm very impressed with it. It is what it is. It's not a highbrow affair, but it just picks up where these main characters, Ralph Macchio and William Zabka, that played Johnny, and picked up where these characters left off on the Karate Kid, which is I think 1986. or 84, and Heartbreak Ridge was 86. It just kind of works out. It's interesting that way. But I think there's a whole generation of people that relate to if they enjoyed watching a character. It doesn't matter how long ago, 10, 20, 30 years ago. There's probably still an interest, in that character to revisit. And like I said, what separates the Swede character in Heartbreak Ridge is the military, which is always replacing. It's always necessary for our government, to keep the military strong in terms of the total volume of people. So the military is not going anywhere. We think that audience is huge, and one that continues to watch Heartbreak Ridge, which has become a perennial on television.
Absolutely. Wow, that's really cool. So before we get into the Raiders, I want to ask you also too about another thing that you do is you do a lot of training, and you've trained with a lot of big time A-list actors and celebrities and whatnot. But you also do 30-second workout videos. You do that through your social media. And I got to tell you, Pete, I've never been a workout warrior. I was a high school athlete, but as I've gotten older, I've learned the importance of, and frankly, from a lot of your stuff, the importance of strength training. There's something about your videos that I don't know if you realize it or not, but they really have an impact. And one in particular you had was a meme, and it was you, and you were doing curls, and it just said "empty the tank." And I swear, Pete, every time now I go to the gym, I belong to our local Gold's Gym, and I go 3 or 4 times a week now. And like when I get to like the last reps of a set, like that picture is in my mind, like empty the tank, and like, you know what I mean? And so what you're doing is awesome. And if you want to talk about that or what you're doing with those videos, it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying there, Murph. And just so for people, I encourage you and welcome you really to go check me out. I'm easy to find on social media, and then you'll understand what we're talking about. And so I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I've got a huge following and a very, very active following on LinkedIn for those of you folks that use that. And it's just my name, Petekoch, Pete Koch. I'm the only one out there. And I started a little thing about a year ago called Making You Better 30 Seconds at a Time. And here's why. And I'm a trainer. I've got 35 years of knowledge and experience, much of it, from the multiple years and years I've spent educating myself formally. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist, plus all the life lessons of my college days at the University of Maryland. So that's really my day job is no matter what's going on, and I love acting, and I'm gonna develop this TV show. But the one thing that's always been a part of my life ever since I finished playing professional football has been training people. And I do it in person, and I do it online. I'm able to help reach a lot of people. And it was Einstein that said, strive not to be a man of worth, rather a man of value. So here's where I'm going with that. We all need to make money. I need to make a living, and I charge people when I train them. However, with my audience on social media, I wanted to give back free, right? Because you can go on IG or LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, and that doesn't cost you anything, right? And almost everybody's got an account, right? So if you follow me, and every third time that I post, I give a 30 to 60-second lesson on physical fitness. Mostly it's didactic. That means I'm showing you how to do it, and then depending on the exercise that I show, I might be describing it just a little bit. But maybe it'll motivate you, and maybe it'll educate you. I promise it won't hurt you. Just check it out and share it with somebody if you think they could use a little bit of information on physical fitness or maybe some inspiration. I'm 57 years old, and I got a little bit sick and tired of seeing that the only people that were exercising on social media were more apt to be 27 years old. And that's fine and well and good, but it's easy to do when you're 27. And a lot of other things are happening in your life, both internally and externally, when you get a little bit older, but it's still possible to be in outstanding physical condition. I try to lead from the front. Here's my way, 30 seconds at a time of giving back.
It's awesome. And it is inspiring. I mean, I'm 46, clearly not in nearly as good a shape as you are, Pete. I mean, you look the same from when you were the Swede. I mean, you're in phenomenal shape, but you could see that you still retained your athleticism and your strength. And it's just, to see that and to know that those type of heights are possible if you're just willing to put the work in. And so having someone like you to show us that, it's awesome. That's why we appreciate you for sure. And definitely Raider Nation. I mean, if you don't follow Pete, definitely give Pete a follow. It's very, very good stuff. And he represents the Raiders a lot of times when doing this too, which is really cool. You got your Raider hat on or whatever, so it's really cool.
Proudly sport the Raider gear. Yeah, you got it.
So, hey, so speaking of the Raiders, let's talk a little bit about Alumni Weekend. We had you on last year after you went to Alumni Weekend, which was, of course, Gruden's return and everything. What was it like this year? Any big takeaways or any big differences that you noticed in the team itself or the facilities, or just kind of what was the big takeaways?
I think there's an overall level of excitement and some discussion about the team, where it's at right now, which just feels like it's sitting on a launching pad in a transition, ready to get to Las Vegas. There was some discussion. I'll give you an example. So they hired a new person, a lovely woman that is going to be her job is simply Raider alumni relations. And I had a wonderful, conversation with her, and she was hand selected by owner Mr. Mark Davis, and she previously had spent a decade working for Mike Ditka in Chicago, and she uprooted everything. She was up there connecting with all the alumni. She's very personable. She's very expert at connecting. She probably knows more NFL alumni, including coaches like Ditka on down, Hall of Famers, than about anybody, because she worked and ran Mike Ditka's Gridiron Greats nonprofit program in Chicago. She's amazing, and she's going to be a great asset to the Raiders. She is already in her office in Las Vegas. So the Raiders have their office up and going in Las Vegas. They have their team building, the building what's going to house, the practice facility. All of that is being built at the same time that, it's well known that the Raiders stadium is exactly 1 year from completion. It's going to come, right down to the wire, but the stadium is on track. And it is going. So Raider employees are there. The team is gearing up not only for the season, but then they're going to start the process of moving to Las Vegas. It's a very exciting sort of historical time. All that being said, we had the great opportunity when Coach John Gruden came and met with the entire group. We had about 120 Raider alumni there, and he came out on Saturday evening. He was gracious enough to come over after practice, and we were having a dinner at this beautiful vineyard, the winery restaurant, outdoor setting. Is absolutely stunning. And he came over and he talked to everybody, and he says, "Here's what I want you to know, is that we are competing, and this isn't just a rebuild. We're ready to compete at the highest level now. So this is what we're doing. This is the message that we're sending the guys." And earlier that day, Saturday, that was a week ago Saturday, he had invited Mike Haynes, Hall of Famer that I played with, cornerback safety Mike Haynes, Jim Plunkett, great Jim, who I had dinner with Saturday night. What a wonderful man he is. And I'm leaving a couple of guys out, but he had Lester Hayes, the great Lester Hayes. So he handpicked those three, and I might be leaving somebody about, but they're just Raider greats, to come over and talk to his team before practice on Saturday afternoon, and just to talk to them about their life experience being Hall of Fame Raiders, just the greatest generation of Raiders. And I think that's signaling from NFL alumni at the highest level. Jim Plunkett, Super Bowl rings, is an outstanding bit of business on the part of Coach John Gruden. And I was very excited to hear that he had made that connection for these current players to older players that were part of the greatest generation of Raiders.
Was that Villapiano? Do you think was he the fourth one? Maybe?
Thank you very much. Thank you for that was the name that was evading me. And I've had a couple of great conversations with Villapiano over the years. And boy, I heard he was a character, and I'm here to tell you, he's 70-something years old. He's still a character, and he is funny. I mean, he's funny, and he's got, he lives in New Jersey. He's got his own fan club. I told him, I said, Phil, a couple of years ago, somebody reaches out to me on Facebook. They wanted to send me a T-shirt, and the guy, I said, fine. And it's the Phil Villapiano fan club of the New York, New Jersey area, and he just laughed. He goes, "Oh yeah, I know those guys. They're great. They just went out on their own and made their fan club." So he's just a legend, and yeah, that's good fun.
That's awesome. So what was the scene like? Was it evident about the Hard Knocks? Obviously, Hard Knocks is tomorrow. We got our first episode tomorrow. So was it? And I got a couple questions for you around this. Number one, I'm curious to how evident it was when you were there, and then the follow up to that, Pete, would be Derek came out and said it wasn't a distraction, and we kind of speculated that it wouldn't be. But if that presence of the cameras were there, was it that much extra to where it would actually provide a distraction to the team?
I can't comment as to is it a distraction to the team and the staff. I can't. I can tell you this. Young men running around with NFL Films T-shirts and a camera on their arm are all over the place. Very noticeable that they're a huge presence and they're everywhere. It's the first time I've seen that. I've never seen anything like it.
Okay, I get, yeah. Okay, that's what we were curious about. Was it if it was very noticeable?
They're everywhere.
Oh, okay.
I think. Look, when you're a professional athlete, here's part of what your job is when you go from college to the NFL, and one of the things you better learn right away is that you're a professional. And what goes with that territory is increased demands on your time and concentration, your focus, and you need to start thinking of yourself as a damn professional. Right away. You about to hit that switch right away. There's just no getting around that. And this is an opportunity with the additional, potential distraction of cameras to redouble your efforts. Let me use this as an example. It's a common thought that when a team is playing on the road, that's a disadvantage. And the guys, if you're interested in this stuff, in Las Vegas, will say that's worth it's tangible. It's like 3 points or something like this. I don't follow this gambling stuff, but people have told me that.
Oh, uh-huh. Sure.
So right. So what they're saying is that it's more, you're more apt to have a difficulty playing a road game. Here's something. Listen, nobody ever told me this. I didn't read it anywhere. I never had a coach tell me this. But the switch went in my head someplace between my final year in high school, and I really began to get my arms around this when I was at college at Maryland. And I was very fortunate. I had an outstanding head coach, and we had co-head coaches when I was in high school, kind of a powerhouse program, New Hyde Park Memorial High School on Long Island. My co-head coach went and played football at the Naval Academy. He was Roger Staubach's center at Navy.
Oh, wow.
Give you sort of a historical.
Yeah.
And he's talking about preparation and mental toughness way before, it was popularized more so in the 80s. But here's a notion I began to develop, and I internalized and I embraced. And I think I could even prove it probably if you looked up statistics. But to me, a road game was an advantage to me, because of this. The comfort of being at home was ultimately, let's face it, a distraction. Hey, my fans are there. The people I know are in the stands are my family, and it's comfortable and I'm relaxed. Go on the road, go to someplace tough, whether it's Buffalo, playing at the old Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, where they had huge crowds when I played with Dan Fouts. It was a superstar, team. go play in Kansas City or vice versa. If you're in Kansas City, go to the black hole. It's hard. There's no margin of error when you are in that circumstance. I felt like I was locked and loaded when I was on the road. And I want to take that same mentality to the Raiders currently, where they're going to have an opportunity to be really distracted by all these camera guys and all of what the hell else is going on there with the Hard Knocks. But that's the opportunity to get better. That's the opportunity to be battle hardened and prepare yourself at a higher level than anybody else who's in training camp this year, because you've got this additional distraction, which I say you turn into a positive.
Wow, that's awesome. What a great take on that, Pete. And I don't think, I know many of us have not put that together in that way. And I think that, and that's why we love having you on, because you could speak at this from the athlete's level, from the player level, from the having gone through these experiences, and you can give us the firsthand accounts of what's actually taking place and what's going through the players' minds and the coaches' minds. That's fantastic stuff. So that. Being that's said, I mean, so you're talking about the Raiders, right, essentially being prepared unlike any other team in the NFL then?
They have that opportunity. I mean, that's the way that I would present it. I don't know what the conversation is that John Gruden and his staff and the owner Mark, I don't know what that conversation is, but I'm quite confident that they have, listen, it wasn't like this is which is just a last minute, somebody sprung it on them that Hard Knocks film crew was going to be there. They've had plenty of time to prepare for this, and I'm confident that John Gruden has taken the steps, whatever he feels are necessary, to make sure that, again, like I say, not only is it not a distraction, but it could be some positive experience as these guys develop and get cohesive, get those new personnel on the same sheet of music. It's a team game, emphasis on the team, us against them. It's not me against you, it's us against them. And if you want to include the film, as far as I'm concerned, the film crew, it might even be viewed as, somewhat adversarial. It doesn't mean you have a problem personally with the film crew, but you just view them as just another part of what's in between you and reaching your goal, whatever those personal goals are for this Raider team. I think this is a Raider team where their goal ought to be, by hook or crook, one way or another, wild card, whatever, we're going to make the playoffs. That's it.
It sure would be nice to get one more playoff game, especially if we could get one in Oakland. That sure would be a nice send-off to the city. That would just be an amazing scenario. Do you think that, you mentioned Gruden there. Do you think is there two better guys in the NFL than Mayock and Gruden to equip a team, not only for the transition from Oakland to Vegas, but for Hard Knocks, for all these other external things that are going on? I mean, these are the two best guys, aren't they?
We're going to find out. I mean, this is the new Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers of the NFL. And they are sort of Hollywood, Yeah. Gruden certainly is.
Yeah.
So it's a reasonable, metaphor. Mayock also spoke to the alumni group. He actually kind of introduced, he kind of teed it up. John Gruden, that is. He came and he spoke for a minute about how excited he was about the personnel changes and the moves and moving forward. And he actually was gracious enough, and I mean, I'm jumping around a little bit, but then he introduced John Gruden. And I just want to jump over before I get off the subject of the front office people talking with the alumni group. And I thought it was so unsurprising, because I've really come to have such a deep respect for Mark Davis. So this kind of thing isn't a surprise to me, but it's notable to me that when he addressed the entire group on the Saturday evening function, again, it's 120 alumni. It's another 100, their wives and dates and kind of organizational sort of VIPs. So it's 200 people at a beautiful, beautiful setting. And Mark Davis took the time to thank Reggie McKenzie for the historically all that he's given to the Raiders. And he felt like, and John Gruden mentioned him too. And he says, listen, the Raiders got this far with a whole bunch of good players on it, thanks to Reggie McKenzie. Now we go forward. And I thought that's a classy way. I thought that's very classy.
Absolutely. What a class move. Wow. That's great to hear. Yeah. And it's Reggie, he had a tough job, taking over that roster and the way that it was left at the time with the contracts and the way they were structured. I mean, that was not an easy task, and he pulled us through some pretty tough circumstances. And so that's really cool to hear that they recognize that and still give him credit for that. That's absolutely a class move.
Yeah. Murph, one quick Jim Otto story, who I have, and if I can give you two legendary Raider stories, but I'll start with Jim Otto, who I've had the great good fortune to know just a little bit for about 15 years. And I have such a profound admiration for him. And gosh, he's been, for those that don't know, I mean, he's been in a wheelchair. He lost his leg due to just multiple surgical problems from knee surgeries, and it's just a shame. He's a beautiful man, and you would never know that it doesn't lead on that it bothers him to be in a wheelchair. But I'll tell you this: so they had everybody come out and had a tent set up for the 120 Raider alumni in the end zone of the practice field. So we're just watching practice on Saturday morning. But it's very kind of a loose security situation. So if you want an autograph or get your picture made with a former player, you could just come over. There's security there, but they're just they're obliging the general population, and nobody gets more attention than Jim Otto, deservedly so, and everybody's just willing to just, they're going to kneel down and so they can be the same height as him in that wheelchair. And God bless him. It's 97 or 100 degrees out there, and he's in the wheelchair and he's under some cover, and he's making picture after picture and signing autographs, and it just never stops. It just never stops for him. And Jim Otto. The other is I had a chance to have a bit of a conversation with Coach Tom Flores. Spectacular. I've probably known him about 16 years. I've had a handful of conversations with him. This was a chance. It was so nice. He was so gracious. I asked him so here's one of the things they do. Every alumni that shows up, when you first get there, you get a goodie bag. You do this every year, and you get a football, one of those special where three of the four panels are white. They're autograph footballs, special made, and you get a Sharpie. So every player gets an autograph football and a Sharpie, and what you do is you go around and you get everybody's autograph.
Oh,
and it's really fun.
Gosh, that is amazing.
Yeah. So you say. So I just walked over. It's a conversation starter. So you look, all these people are sitting around Coach Flores, and he doesn't know me, and I'm a tiny little guy in a Raider, hall in the grand scheme of things. And here's a giant, Tom Flores, and plus him and I have a little history. We both played for the Chiefs too, which is kind of fun. But so I took my autograph football and I said, "Hey, Coach, can I get you to sign my ball?" "Sure, Pete." We started talking, and he says to me right out of the gate, he goes, "Man, I saw you on that iPhone commercial. That's great." I mean, he's sitting there with his wife and his friends, and now everybody started laughing. And I was like, "Oh, Coach, you made my day."
That's fantastic.
After we chatted a little bit, I said, "Coach, I'm not going to take your day. I'll let you go up. But can I ask you one question? I mean, it's not a question. It's a statement. Coach, when are you getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?"
Amen.
And he goes, "I hear soon. I hear it's coming soon." And I said, soon is still overdue, but that's okay. We'll take it because you should have been in there for a long time now. And I said, "One other thing, Coach, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?" He goes, "I'm 82. I said, "You look great. Thank you." And that was it. I didn't realize he was 82.
Wow. Well, I hope the Hall gets it right. We've had a lot of discussions on this show over the years about Flores and his place. Obviously, he's, like you said, he's on the Mount Rushmore of Raiders, and especially in terms of coaches, and two-time Super Bowl champion, and all the barriers that he broke early on. I mean, just a wonderful legend in terms of the Raider history, but also in NFL history, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And I hope that the Hall of Fame gets it right because, like, sadly, we have an example here lately. We just lost Cliff, and he'll probably get inducted posthumously, just like Stabler was, and that's a shame. And as a fan, we want to see those guys and hear their speeches, and this kind of funky criteria. And I'm not taking shots at the Hall of Fame; they have a job to do, but I just think that they would be better served to look at some of these guys had lengthy careers in the NFL and really had careers that represented something bigger than just the team. I mean, guys like Cliff Branch, guys like Tom Flores were bigger than the Raiders. Those are NFL stories, and darn it, they should be in the Hall of Fame. So I hope they get it right.
You're right, and I think you probably know this, but it's just as we talk about this, and I like your point. So they've done things and represent things that are even bigger than just playing the game. So Tom Flores is the first coach to earn a Super Bowl ring as a player and as a head coach. It was done. It's been done twice. The other guy was Ditka. Okay, Tom Flores was the backup to Len Dawson in Kansas City when they beat the Vikings. Okay. There you go. So that's where he won his Super Bowl ring as a player, and then of course he coached. And now there's one. So he's the first to do that. There's only one that's got three. Tom Flores did it first, and then additionally, Tom Flores did it three ways. We established he did it as a player with the Chiefs, but before he did it as a head coach for the Raiders, he won a ring as an assistant coach for the Raiders.
Oh, that's right.
So he's got three. Yeah, no, the only one. Come on, how in the hell is he not in the Hall of Fame?
I know, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Well, hopefully they get it right. They've expanded the criteria this year, and so I think we're going to get a lot bigger inducting class for 2020. So
yeah, 20 guys are going to go in next. A year from now, 20 guys are going to go in, and they will be able to make some corrections there. Better late than never. I hope for sure. I see Coach Flores for sure, and I'm hopeful that Cliff, God rest in peace, Cliff Branch will go in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Pete, if there's a Raiders Fan Radio Hall of Fame, you're on ours. You and Phil Villapiano and a handful of others we've enjoyed having interviews with on the show. And this is now the third time you've joined us, and it's been great every single time. Before we let you go, I got a little game for you. We call it This or That. Are you up for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right, so this or that. So here's the rule. So you got to pick one. So now that doesn't mean that the one that you don't pick is bad. It just means that you got to pick one or the other, and they're tough to pick between, which makes it kind of fun. So there's just kind of a little rapid fire here. I'll throw you a couple of different things, and you pick one or the other, okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Los Angeles Coliseum or Oakland Coliseum?
Oh, Los Angeles.
Commitment to excellence or just win, baby?
Just win, baby.
On the sidelines, John Madden or Tom Flores?
Tom Flores.
In the booth, John Madden or John Gruden?
John Madden.
The last game in Oakland or the first game in Vegas?
First game in Vegas.
Acting or football?
Oh, football.
All right, here's a fun one for you. Claude Delaney or the Swede?
I love them both, but I'm not. But I know I got to pick one. It's picking which one of your babies, right? Let's go with the Swede.
Go with the Swede. All right, and then one more for you. Who is the more likely MVP for the Raiders in 2019? Derek Carr or Antonio Brown?
Derek Carr.
All right, good job, Pete. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. Good job. I want to thank you for your time today. The insight and the motivation and all the stuff is great. Raider Nation loves to hear from you. We always get amazing feedback from our audience every time that we have you on, and so appreciate you taking time and sharing all that stuff with us. Before we let you go, you want to shout out your Instagram or any of that stuff one more time? Let people know where to find you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, I'm real easy to find. PETEKOCH. That's those 8 letters. That's Pete Koch on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Great. Thanks, Murph.
All right. Thanks again, Pete. Take care.
Bye now. Thanks. Go Raiders.